The summer of 1940. For the British people, it was a season of dread, a time when the world seemed to hold its breath. France had fallen. The British Expeditionary Force, shattered and disarmed, had been miraculously snatched from the beaches of Dunkirk, but they were an army in name only. Their best equipment's thousands of rifles, hundreds of tanks, and nearly all their heavy guns now lay rusting on the French coast. A cold chill ran through the Isles, a stark contrast to the relentless summer sun. In our history, this was the moment the German Luftwaffe made a fatal error, shifting its attacks to London and giving the Royal Air Force a desperately needed reprieve. But history is a fragile thing. In this timeline, there is no mistake. The German High Command remains ruthlessly disciplined. They know that to cross the Channel, to enact Operation Sea Lion, the aerial shield of Britain-RF must be systematically broken. The date is August 13th, 1940. The Germans call it Adlertag, Eagle Day. But this is not the Eagle Day we know. The Luftwaffe's target is singular, its focus absolute. The chain home radar stations, these towers, the electronic eyes of Britain, are the key. Stuka dive bombers, their sirens wailing like banshees, plunge towards the vulnerable power stations and transmitter masts at Ventnor, Dover, and Pevensey. Within a week, by August 20th, the British eyes are poked out. The island is blind. Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding's pilots are now forced to fly exhausting patrols, scouring empty skies for an unseen enemy. They burn precious fuel, searching for German formations that are already upon them, appearing as if from nowhere to strike at their home airfields.
Get to the shelters, quickly! They're everywhere! Take cover!
With the radar grid smashed, the full fury of the Luftwaffe is unleashed upon the fighter aerodromes of 11 Group, Biggin Hill. Kenley Hornchurch names that would become legendary are instead turned into cratered moonscapes. The RAF is bleeding. Pilots, many barely out of their teens, are flying 6, sometimes 7 sorties a day. They land on patched-up runways, rearm, refuel, and take off again, often sleeping in their cockpits between missions. The attrition is terrifyingly efficient. By the first week of September, Fighter Command's operational strength plummets below the critical threshold. Fewer than 150 Spitfires and Hurricanes remain to defend the nation. The sky over the English Channel now belongs to the Messerschmitt. The first act of the invasion is complete. In our world, September 15th, 1940, is celebrated as Battle of Britain Day, a resounding victory for the RF. In this world, it is the day the sea itself turns grey with German steel. The German Navy, to Kriegsmarine, knows it is no match for the might of the Royal Navy in a direct confrontation. Their plan is as daring as it is brutal. Under the cover of darkness and absolute air supremacy, they lay dense minefields at both ends of the English Channel, sealing the Dover Strait. This creates a protected corridor, a sea lane immune to naval attack. Any British destroyer daring to race south from the main fleet base at Scapa Flow is met by swarms of Stuka bombers. The Royal Navy, the pride of the Empire, is checkmated, trapped, and powerless to intervene as the invasion fleet gathers. Then, at 3 in the morning, the night over Kent is torn apart by the drone of hundreds of Junkers transport planes. Thousands of Fallschirmjäger, Garelite, German paratroopers, descend from the sky. These are the victors of the Hague in the fortress of Eben-Emael, commanded by the formidable Kurt Student. Their objectives are precise. Neutralize the heavy coastal gun batteries at Dover and seize the vital bridges over the River Medway, clearing a path for the main armored thrust towards London. They are met by the Home Guard old men and young boys, armed with ancient rifles, shotguns, and makeshift bombs. They fight with incredible courage for their homes, for every inch of English soil. But courage is not enough against professional, battle-hardened stormtroopers. By dawn, the gateways to the heart of Kent are in German hands. As the sun rises on September 16th, the iron tide washes ashore. The first invasion waves of the 16th and 9th Armies hit the beaches of Sussex and Kent-at-Brighton, Eastbourne, and Folkestone. The scene is one of organized chaos. Specially designed Tauch Panzer, submersible tanks, emerge from the waves like sea monsters. their 75mm cannons already barking, tearing into the concrete pillboxes lining the shore. The British defenders, starved of modern anti-tank guns, fight back with museum pieces. World War I era. Artillery, their shells bouncing harmlessly off the German armor. The beachheads are established. The invasion has begun. The shattered British forces fall back, fighting a desperate retreat to a line of defenses hastily built to protect the capital, the GHQ line. This network of concrete bunkers, and anti-tank ditches becomes the site of horrific fighting. Every village, every crossroads in the Garden of England becomes a fortress. From the radio, Winston Churchill's voice, a growl of defiance echoes across the nation and the world. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. But words cannot stop tanks. The sheer weight of the German panzer divisions, now pouring ashore with an uninterrupted stream of supplies, begins to grind the British defenses into dust. By October, London is in a massive German pincer movement has closed around the capital from the south and the east. The world's greatest city is no longer a metropolis. It is a front line. The battle for London becomes a grim foreshadowing of Stalingrad. It is a brutal, street-by-street fight in a labyrinth of brick and stone. The London Underground, the Tube, becomes a subterranean world of its own, a shelter for millions of civilians, and a secret highway for British saboteurs and troops moving to threatened sectors. In the south, the ruins of Croydon Airport change hands 5 times in a single week. To stop the German advance across the Thames, Royal Engineers sabotage the bridges and open pipelines, turning the river's surface into a moat of fire. Deep beneath the streets of Westminster, in the cabinet war rooms, Winston Churchill remains the soul of the resistance. He refuses old pleas to evacuate to Canada, to lead a government in exile. He is a common sight in the smoke-filled ruins. His familiar Homburg hat on his head, sometimes carrying a Thompson submachine gun, a personal symbol of his defiance. But the city is dying. Food is running out. Ammunition is scarce, with the southern ports of Southampton and Portsmouth now in German hands. The island fortress is being slowly, inexorably starved into submission. The end is near. On November 15th, 1940, a date that will live in infamy, German troops fight their way to the gates of Buckingham Palace. The unthinkable has happened. Facing the complete destruction of London and the slaughter of its remaining inhabitants, a provisional government is formed. It has no choice but to sign a suspension of hostilities. King George VI and the royal family are taken into protective custody. Winston Churchill, the voice of defiance, vanishes. Some say he was captured defending Whitehall. Others, that he was spirited away by a special unit to lead the underground resistance. On a grey, mournful afternoon, the swastika is hoisted over the Houses of Parliament. The sight signals the end of 1,000 years of history. The fall of Britain sends a seismic shockwave across the entire planet. In the United States, isolationism surges. President Roosevelt finds it nearly impossible to justify entering a war for a continent that now seems irrevocably lost. America turns inward, preparing to become a fortress. In Moscow, Joseph Stalin watches with cold calculation. He is now alone, facing a triumphant German war machine with no Western front to distract it. He accelerates the frantic build-up of the Red Army, knowing it's no longer a question of if, but when, the panzers will turn east. Across the world, the British Empire fractures. Canada, Australia, and India refuse to recognize the new puppet government in London. They declare themselves the Free British Commonwealth, a beacon of continued resistance. The sea line has conquered the land, but it has not conquered the spirit of the people. In the rugged highlands of Scotland and the green valleys of Wales, a secret army that Churchill had prepared for this very day auxiliary units begins its long, dark war. A campaign of sabotage, assassination, and guerrilla warfare erupts across the occupied nation. The Royal Navy, having escaped to bases in Canada, joins with the United States Navy to enforce a strict blockade of Nazi-controlled Europe. The war is not over. It has entered a new, terrifying phase. The world settles into a grim standoff. A Cold War between a fortress Europe under the shadow of the swastika and a desperate, rearming New World. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into alternate history fascinating,